Welcome, everyone. I'm Mariquita Solis, the live stream host of all-creatures.org. All-creatures.org was founded in 1998 by Pastor Frank Hoffman and his first wife, Mary, and launched as the pioneer website in the United States for faith-based animal rights veganism. Today, led by our executive director, Tams Nicholson, we exist for all people seeking current animal rights, vegan resources, and offer decades of free animal rights and vegan content, including a huge repository of vegan sermons and Bible commentaries, animal rights strategies, free vegan authored books, recipes, upcoming events around the world, and the works of various vegan authors, poets, and artists. We host current sites for almost 20 vegan and animal rights organizations, including Stop Crush, Unparalleled Suffering, and the Committee to Abolish Sports Hunting. We also maintain nearly 25 archival sites from animal rights veganism of past decades. The bottom line is that we work to unite compassionate and empathetic humans across the globe from the past and present who honor the dignity of each and every creature so that all beings thrive on a flourishing planet Earth. So I'm excited for you all to be here. Please let us know where you're joining from, and let's get started with this beautiful conversation. I'm excited to welcome my good friend Gail Thomas. Gail is an anchoress on the south side of the oldest mountain on Turtle Island. She holds traditional sweat lodge ceremonies for over a decade, connecting with the spirits of the land and her ancestral Indigenous Tsalagi Woodlands Peoples homeland. Prayer and teaching songs come to Gail in her dreams to help all heal. Gail's specialization in Jungian Depth Psychology aids her in helping people find their song through dreams, mandala art, dance movements, and music. So, welcome, Gail. I'm very excited to talk to you because I really want to know about our Mother Earth, and I just feel so connected to her. And I know the Indigenous people hold her so dear in their hearts. And what a blessing it is to have you here to share your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Marquita. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me today. We are
Well,
so connected.
yes, we are. And I love that. We are very, very connected. Um, and Gail, I would love for you, if you could start us off with a little song. I would
Okay.
appreciate that. A little blessing song, or what would it be called?
Well, actually, this is a gratitude song that's coming to me. It came to me from the spring here on the south side of my land on this mountain. And it came in the Lakota language because we've held the sweat lodge ceremonies in traditional Lakota ways for so long. So you're welcome to join in. Anybody is. Tunkashalaye, Kunchimalaye, Nikabye, Kunchimaka, Nanivachone, Ilamayaye, ancestors, grandmothers, please share compassion. All my relations, grandmother, water is life. We are grateful. Thank you so much for opening with a song in our traditional ways.
Thank you for that. That is beautiful. I love that energy, and it's important that we share that and we're grounded in that beautiful energy of the grandmothers, right? Mother Earth and these the wise ancestors and the spirits that are with us always. That is so
Mhm.
beautiful. All right, well, I'm not going to cry. Like, I'm going to this really touches my heart, y'all. If I do cry, that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, y'all. Well, also, everyone that's watching, please let us know where you're watching from. Gail is joining us from Asheville, North Carolina, And our heart goes out to you, Gail. I know that you all have been through a lot in Asheville.
We are still going through so much trauma from the hurricane. It will be many years before the land is restored and cleaned up.
Gosh, well, I used to live in Asheville for 2 or 3 years. I lived in Asheville, and that's actually where I went vegan in Asheville, or vegetarian in Asheville, and then vegan later. But yes, where I began my journey. So yeah, it's beautiful up there, and I see that Bonnie is here from Coconut Creek, Florida. Thank you for joining us. Um, so, Gail, when did you become vegan? Because as an Indigenous woman, were you taught that as a child?
Not specifically, but it was illegal to teach any of our ways. We couldn't speak our language, we couldn't do our songs, our dances. Everything was illegal, and we were required by law to assimilate until I was in my last year of college when the Religious Freedoms Act was passed, thank goodness, in 1978. So we were not allowed those choices. My mother was Deer Clan, though, and that's a blessing of communications, and gentleness. And my father was Medicine Clan, and that's our plant medicine ways primarily. So the animal spirits were with us very much in our heart and our essence, in our nature, even though we couldn't speak of it and weren't really able to teach it. But we did recognize the gifts that we carried. And I became vegetarian first, like you, when I started looking at health issues. Genetic health issues flared up, and I had gotten advice from cardiologists and kidney specialists and all kinds of allopathic MD medicines, which actually my problem turned out to be from exposure to Roundup, glyphosate. My first husband sprayed the garden, cleared the garden space for me with Roundup, and I didn't know anything about it. So I got really sick, and one of those specialists encouraged me to keep a food diary. And when I kept the food diary, I realized the impact on my health and the experiences that were so debilitating at the time. And so I had a good friend who was actually my first husband's secretary, who was vegan at the time, and she was very helpful. I had somebody I could talk to, I could work through the issues and get familiar with things. And she was a beautiful example of being vegetarian and vegan, and she did it for the reasons of loving the animals, which I loved about her as well. She's still a good friend.
That's beautiful. And what did your friends and family think when you went vegan?
I didn't have a lot of support there. It wasn't common. And eventually, like, a decade or more later, this happened when I was, not quite 30. So I've been vegan and vegetarian for 35 years now or more. And, eventually, my mom would make the dressing without the turkey, so I would have something to eat in the gatherings that we traditionally did. And we have a strong strong relationship to vegetables. Our people are actually nut-based. So we heavily relied on the chestnuts, the acorn flour, so many nuts, hickory nuts. We make the kanuchi and lots of things in the fall. And then our food over the winter is fermented food. So we fermented the corn and beans and, pickled everything. I still pickle a lot of things. I've pickled okra and pickled green beans and cucumbers, the usual pickles and lots of things that are from our traditional food ways. I don't miss, eating the animals. I love the animals.
That's beautiful. I love this connection to the earth. I might say that 1,000 times while we're on here today, but I just can't get enough of it. So, and y'all, if you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe and also get your questions in the chat, please, if you have any for Gail. She has such a lovely energy, and I'm just so curious about everything. So, how does the peace of not eating animals, not eating creatures, manifest in your life today, Gail?
It's simple for me. I don't even think about animals as food. They're my protectors, my helpers. And I live on the forest. I live at 3,000 feet on the oldest mountain here, our sacred mountain, Adagul, which means helping many people, and do that at every opportunity. So I live with the bears. We have 6,000 bears in Asheville, and we have a prophecy that says when the animals return, our ways will return, because we're the people who resisted both the Trail of Tears and the reservation the federal government calls Cherokee. We resisted hiding in these mountains, and the federal troops came in and killed all the animals, thinking they would starve us out, and they didn't realize that we knew the plant medicine and we could survive on the plant medicine. So that tradition is very ingrained in me as well. The wild food, the foraging, the plants, and living with the animals. I have the foxes and the opossums and the raccoons, and all the birds have the golden eagles here, and the owls, and everybody comes by, and
What
keeps
a
me
blessing.
company. It is.
Yeah, that is a tremendous, tremendous blessing. Oh, well, what in your vegan life, what is the most memorable experience that you've had?
Oh, with the first dog that moved up here on the mountain with me, was walking with me along the parkway. I'm real close to the Blue Ridge Parkway, and she grabbed a sandwich, and I didn't even know what it was. I was looking at that thing, that she was going to eat, and I was just thinking, what in the world is that? Because I didn't even recognize flesh as food at that point in my time. I had a friend with me who said it's a turkey sandwich, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's amazing when we make the connection, and it's very, it's very difficult, to be in this society that where we walk into the store and you are bombarded with things, that images and of the reality of it. So yeah, we have to take care of ourselves, and it sounds like you really know how to do that. How do you turn to Mother Earth and the animals when you're feeling down?
Oh, there's so many ways. I go out and I walk on the earth, and every time I can, I wear my moccasins, so I have those soft soles, and I can feel the earth and join, in that frequency. And I'll sing while I'm out there. I sing all the time anyway, but I sing a lot with the wind and with the water that's around me, with the leaves on the trees and trees themselves, and the birds that come along. They always show up to sing with me. And just connect, just really be out there in nature, with nature, and participating in the mysteries. And every day I try to pick something of the wild food. I'll pick a leaf of the heartleaf violet today. That's what's growing in this warm weather that we're experiencing today. And then we have the black birch trees. I'll chew on a stick sometimes, or the white pines. I'll bring some white pine leaves in and make some tea. But I'll forage. It's time to gather the roots. That's been really difficult because so many trees are down. But it's time for the burdock root, the horseradish root, to really bring the roots in and pickle them, ferment them, and store them up, for later in the winter when the ground is frozen and it's harder to forage. But there's always something there to eat from the earth.
Yeah, I had tea made from pine leaves, or not pine needles. So, and I forgot about that. So I'm glad you reminded me about that. I did that. I think Gail is frozen. Let's see here. I did that when I went up to Just Love Forest. Let me see here. But yes, there's a wonderful place in Rome, Georgia, Just Love Forest, and you can go and spend the day honoring Mother Earth and the yurt. And they have drum circles and all sorts of healing if you're in the Atlanta area, in this North Georgia area. So let's hope that Gail will unfreeze here. But I'm just fascinated by all the blessing of the indigenous people, the respect for the earth that we have so lost in our culture today. Oh, here you come. I see. All right.
Yes.
Yes. So, but yes, I made the pine needle tea. And is that all you need to do? I mean, make the pine needle, just put the pine needles in water and that's all?
Yeah, it's nice to, give them a long, slow heat and not quite bring them to a boil, but they are high in vitamin C. They're very healthy this time of the year. And I like them. I think they're really yummy too. And I'll take that pine sap and I'll put it on, a cut or a scrape or anything, any kind of thing that comes up on my skin. We've been getting a lot of tick bites here after the storm, so I'll put some pine sap on the tick bite and let it pull all that out. It's very
Wow, that
good
is
medicine.
fascinating. Um, that is very, very interesting because I know people that are very afraid of ticks. So, and people that hate sap. So now I have some new knowledge to to give them. I'm very happy to hear this. Um, so let's talk a little bit about you seem very, I mean, you are very peaceful. You don't seem it. You are very peaceful. And, as a vegan, a lot of times new vegans are very angry and depressed. What would you recommend to someone that's going through that?
Well, I wonder if a lot of that comes from the liver cleanse that naturally occurs when they're first beginning to change their diet. There's a lot of accumulations in the organs and in the body from the diet. And I feel like our body is so wise. It really carries the wisdom. And it doesn't start clearing things out until they stop coming in. So I feel like the new vegans are really having a change in their organs on the body wisdom level. And if they can become aware of that and facilitate that clearing and really tap into the connection of the body's wisdom and respect it and help the liver, take care of the liver in that process and recognize what's happening and not project it out onto the world or the anger that arises around them, but really tap into their essence and their soul, their dreams. Even I've had my dreams guide me in diet choices before as well. So that connection to the soul and the body's wisdom, balancing body, mind, and spirit helps us get through those transitions in life.
Yes, and that makes me think of the illnesses that, I mean, the way that illness is looked at in our nation as compared to the indigenous people. I mean, could you tell us a little bit about how illnesses are dealt with, or I don't know if that's the right word, but handled, or in the indigenous people's tribes?
Yeah, I'm very happy to tell you about that. Actually, Carl Jung saw this when he first came to this country. The European man, he was from Switzerland, and the European man had never treated illness in any way except the body. And when they were able to come to this continent and connect with Indigenous people here, they were able to learn that we treat illness as beginning in the spirit. So we first treat the spirit's illness in our medicine ways. And that is actually the foundation of the whole psychology system as it is in this country and across the world right now. Carl Jung was able to work with that and bring it into empirical science, which basically means if you do the same thing, you get the same results. So he was able to document this through the ways of the alchemist that were preserved from the indigenous people and take it all around the world, all the indigenous peoples, and document it as being science that can be repeated and has been accepted into the allopathic psychiatry system with Carl Jung's work, Jungian Depth Psychology, that you referenced in my introduction. So beginning with the spirit is our way of treating illness, and then working with the body, and the plant medicine helps us. There is plant medicine for every illness. And it is the teachings of our red race that carries that plant medicine. And we have prophecies that say when we bring our teachings of the four directions and the four races back together and create balance again on earth, as opposed to the abuses that are now being tolerated on earth, that are created. For example, in our red race plant medicine teachings, it's pretty obvious that there are abuses of the pharmaceutical industries. So the way I try to address those abuses personally is by sharing the plant medicine, just as we've been doing here. You know, if I can tell people how to work directly with the plant and recognize the spirit of that plant, that makes all the difference in the healing and gathering your own plants and treating them spirit to spirit as all life around us, just like, you know, all the animals and everything around us. We can connect spirit to spirit and heal not only our own body and our own physical and emotional needs, but those of the entire earth right now, where we are all connected. We are all in this wave of humans together. We all have ancestors that go back to the beginning of this wave of humans, and we can connect with those ancestors who've done their work for that guidance as well.
Right. And so many of us are totally disconnected where we don't even go outside at all. I mean, it's incredible to me to see the disconnect. And that is why I'm just talking to you is such a blessing, to be talking with someone who's so grounded and so aware of the spiritual realm that is a connection with all living beings, that the trees are alive. I mean, really knowing the depth of that sentence, the trees are alive, and that, every leaf, every tiny being, right? It's a connection. Every little acorn, is respected and loved. I mean, this is such a greater level of reverence here, that I feel that the indigenous people hold in their hearts. And how are we going to get back to that? And that's what we have to do to save our planet.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Marquita. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yes. And how do you, what would you tell someone, that was afraid, that had an illness, maybe they had cancer, and they came to you and said, what can I do? How can Mother Earth help me heal?
That has happened. Yeah. I had a good friend who was coming into the sweat lodge ceremonies here, and she was in a car accident. She was a retired attorney from LA, and she'd come here to change her lifestyle. And when she was in the car accident, they took x-rays of her lungs and told her that she had lung cancer and needed immediate surgery. they didn't even want to do a follow-up or anything. They just scheduled her for surgery and said, you've got to take care of this with surgery right now. And so she came back here. She came, to the land, to the lodge where she was connected. And we just walked around. We took a walk, we walked in the forest and we saw which plants came to her to help her. And what came was the usnea, which is also called old man's beard. It grows on all the trees all over the world. It's one of the best medicines. It's called the doxycycline of the plant world because it has all those antibiotic properties, all those good properties, take care of everything and don't create the imbalance that the antibiotics create in the gut and in the whole GI system. And so that's the plant that came to us when we were walking and asking for the medicine for her. And I said, okay, well, if this is your medicine, it will come to you again and again. You'll see it everywhere. And I taught her to give back to the earth. Okay, when you take this medicine, you place your hair or your spit on the ground, which is our DNA, and it's all that's truly ours that we can give back to the earth. And when she got home, she sent me a picture from her phone. She had been parking her car beside a tree limb that had fallen and was covered in this stuff. And she said, there's not enough hair and spit in the world to give my gratitude back for this stuff. And she just started pounding it. She just started doing everything she could. She put it in her mouth and chewed on it like my dog and I do. She made teas. She did everything. She recognized her medicine. And when she went back to that doctor to get her MRI for surgery, he said, well, it's gone. I don't know. There's nothing here to cut out.
Wow.
So yeah, she had a beautiful experience with that.
That is amazing.
Very scary time.
Gosh, I believe every word of it. I mean, it's like amazing,
Yeah.
but so true. How it is possible because we are one with Mother Earth. She is our mother and she wants to heal us. I mean, she's there for us. She loves us.
Mm-hmm. So true. It is. And the usnea looks like lung tissue too. So I think everybody needs a little, you come to recognize it. And I just pick it up and put it in my mouth when I find it in the forest, and my dog eats it right out of my hand.
Wow.
So yeah, the medicine's there, and the diagnosis, actually, they say allopathic is good with the diagnosis, but when something shows up in huge ways, like a limb falling right beside your car, with stuff all over it, it's telling you that it's here to help you. And so you don't have to wreck your car and get x-rays and cancer scares. Just take the medicine when it shows up for you in a preventive way, and it's all taken care of.
That's beautiful. Wow. Well, let me take a breath here. I feel very touched hearing all this. It's so grounding, and it should be because we're talking about the blessing of the grounding spirit. So, Gail, tell me about the prophecy that we're on the verge of in this time.
Oh yeah, the Four Worlds prophecies. It says that we began on Earth with the stones. Stone people are the elders. They are the eldest because they were here first, and they've been here from the very beginning of time on Earth. And then came the water. So the stones and the water together created the environment for the plants to come. And the three of them together created the environment for the animals to come in fourth world. And now we are on the verge of the fifth world. And all of those who came before us are teaching us to be truly human, to be the best humans that we can be as we have this opportunity to enter the fifth world. We're not the first humans, so this has failed, and many waves of humans have started over again because they've not become as human as it's possible to become. And so that is heavily reliant at this time on the teachings from the animals, plants, the water, and the stones are teaching us everything we need to know at this time to surpass the humanness that has been experienced by this planet.
Well, how can we open our eyes and our ears and our whole body to that, Gail?
That's a good question. You know, whatever comes to us is the way for us to do that. We can start by having the awareness that the teachings do come to us in these ways, in ways of quantum physics more than Newtonian linear physics, you know, the things that show up in magical ways and the synchronicities and the conversations that are available and the experiences that we can all share. Coming into ceremony and respecting Indigenous ways of ceremony is a real good way to start, and being aware of the depth that we have to experience directly before we go out in appropriating ways that dilute the essence of this medicine. I think that's one thing that's happened a lot in prior times. So really respect and ceremony, and when I say appropriation, I mean being in community and in enough ceremonies to say, this is my experience of this. Can you help me understand it in a deeper way before we take it out into the world in a way that appropriates and dilutes our Indigenous teachings and traditions?
Right.
Another little
Well,
saying that I like to share is, it's not about us without us, please.
I like that. It's not about us without us. Yes. Well, I have so many questions. Let me ask you this. So you have the solstice celebration this Saturday. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the turning of the sun, the spiraling, you know, we gather in circles where we are all equal. There's no hierarchy, there's no above, no behind, no in front when we're in circle. And so the sun is actually turning around in the solstice. The moon stands still. We have already experienced that. We had the full moon the morning of the 15th. And the moon stayed in that exact place until the next morning, which is not every month that happens. You know, it happens at the time of the solstice. And I have a song and a dance that I created a couple years ago for the spiraling of the solstice. It's called Spiraling Back to Center. And I'll be sharing that with the gathering of Indigenous Wisdom Council members all around the world. We have a lot of people coming together to share their traditions and their contributions and their honoring of this time and this energy of the earth and the sun and the moon and all the peoples and everything, all life, turning around and going inward in the longest, darkest nights that we're coming into, winter, going into ourselves and really doing our inner work.
And that's this Saturday. And how would people can this is online?
It is. It will be live online. It will be at Region Media TV, and it's also going to be live streamed on Facebook. You can find me and a link on Facebook, and I'm happy to share that with you later if you can put it somewhere that it's easy for people to find.
Is
We're
it
happy for everyone to join.
will it be under if you go to your Facebook page, is it there?
It is, yeah.
And I also want to, I mean, there is also, you also have a monthly dancing and singing in your community to build this foundation of community to help heal, you know, to help people that might feel alone. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, yeah, that's my joy in life. We gather once a month to sing the songs that come to me in the dream time and learn those and sing them together to create that healing frequency and to talk about the teachings that come in the songs from the dream world and really avoid that appropriation and build community by coming together on a regular basis and deeply understanding our experiences that are related to those songs that come from my ancestors primarily. And then at another time in the month, we dance together with the other music that I create in collaboration with musicians, producers all over the world. And we dance together. So that is the foundation of the original peoples. We took care of food and water, and then we gathered with the original musical instruments, the bone flutes, the drums, and all of the songs and dances that came to us. We sang before we spoke, and then we had written language. We danced before, the children, they dance before they walk, they sing before they talk. We came in this wave of humans doing it the same way. In utero, the fetus develops in exactly the same way that the earth has developed. So we see the likeness and we celebrate it when we come together in community to sing and dance. Celebrate our humanness.
And that's online also.
It is on Zoom, yeah.
Okay, so people need to go find you on Facebook. Is that right?
That's a good way to get there. I'm happy to share links with you too. If
Yeah.
they just maybe.
Is it where else can they find you, Gail? What are the links?
I have a YouTube. I have two YouTube channels.
Yes, and that's
One
in the
that's
description.
here with yeah. That channel is for the songs that come in the dreams, and then I have another channel for the dances that I collaborate and create. I start with a drumming journey, one of our traditional medicine ways of a drumming journey, and then I take that experience of connecting with my animal helpers and plant helpers and spirit helpers here on the mountain. And I send that recording of the drumming that I do after that journey to one of the producers that I work with and the many musicians that I collaborate with. And I create the guided ritual because ritual is a human need. It's one of our very basic human needs to come together and do the same thing, and in the dance, we do the same thing with our hands. We create the motions that we make together in a very simple dance. Everyone dances their own dance, but we do the same thing with our hands and the understanding of the guidance that comes through the journey.
That's beautiful. Okay, and so we're all going to go to the links are in the description and also to your Facebook to find you. And I know we have some questions here. So let's go ahead with these questions. Let me take a look at from Bonnie. Let me put that up here. How do you respond to those who point to indigenous populations as an excuse to not be vegan? I know this is a very big, good, wonderful question.
It's a tough question. Yeah, it needs to be talked about and it needs to be addressed. Some people say the difference is we connect with the spirit of the plant and the animal, and that is a huge difference. But that's not always done, and so I don't think it can be a valid excuse. Again, I think that's a level of appropriation that is not deepened into with direct experience. I think it only takes a few deepening questions to discredit that excuse.
I think so too. And then things are not, and we're not living in that time period where it's essential. I mean, we have modern day conveniences now where we don't have to. I mean, things are different now. So,
I
And yeah,
agree. That's a good point in this, you know. There was some animal spirits given to help us get through the winter in those early times of this wave of humans, but not really that much. You know, like I said earlier, we were a nut-based and fermented food-based society. We were
mhm,
not an animal-based society, and it's not necessary any longer. And it's not healthy. It's just it's really imbalance and abuse. I'll take a strong stance on that.
great. So will I. All
Yeah.
right. Here's another question from Bonnie. What are good resources for outsiders to learn about plant medicine?
Oh, that's a good question too. There's a lot of information on the internet. I think Googling is a good place to start, you know, and I will encourage you to learn about the plant medicine directly. Learn to listen and connect with the spirit of the plant and to look for those synchronistic events where the plant speaks to you. Go into nature and realize that we are with the earth. We are part of the earth. We are not on the earth. We're not using the earth. We are the four elements that make up this plane of existence. And we can recognize the energies of those four elements. And when they're out of balance, bring them back into balance with our own direct experience. And I'll encourage you to take the plant from the forest. I will discourage tinctures, you know, throwing alcohol at the liver for that
What are
convenience is absolutely. Tinctures are where they take a huge amount of plant medicine and put it in alcohol. And then so you can buy a little bottle and take the alcohol instead of working with the spirit of the plant.
oh,
So too many of the appropriated plant medicine teachers used that method, which was not traditional and is not a traditional way of working with the spirit of the plant. And it's abusive to the plants. It takes so many plants to make that and the essential oils, which are just an abuse. They are very toxic and not good for the nervous system at all.
well, that's good to know because I have tons of them and I've heard certain things about them. So, and then aren't they? That's not a. That's not good for the plants either, right?
It's an abuse of the plants. It takes a huge amount of plants, and that oil, that level of oil, is not natural in the plants. And you take that many plants, you're not connecting with the spirit of the plant itself when you can, like you can when you go into the forest. Or it doesn't have to be the forest. You could go out, you know, in any neighborhood and you could find something to eat today. I could help you.
Well, I believe it. And I've gone out and touched the trees and smelled the trees. I mean, in contrast, I haven't bought any essential oils in a long time, but in contrast to the essential oil, really, just being with that tree and smelling from the pine needles and everything, which is it's much more. I mean, it's much more spiritual experience than putting dabbing on some oil. So, or what? Yeah. So, I would love to hear about your dreams. Has there been a one? I mean, can you tell us about a powerful dream that you had that stood out to you?
Oh, there's been so many. I get guidance from my soul in the dream world continuously. And I also hold a gathering once a month with Dreams for the Collective, where when we dream of being in a public place and a crowd of people we don't know, then that dream is for the collective and we bring it together and find synchronicities and create a message to share with the world that will help change the times that we're in. But I've had dreams like I've had allopathic internal medicine specialists, even alternative practitioners convince me to try the seafood again. You really need to eat some seafood, you know. So I started eating a little bit of seafood, and the dream world came and showed me that a particular uncle of mine had been very ill with diabetes and had just had a terrible death of inflammation in his legs, and had said to me at that time, "I've been here too long. It's time for me to go." When I saw the inflammation in his legs, and the dream world came in and said, "If you keep eating the seafood, you're going to have the same kind of death that you experienced with this particular uncle or relative." And it was very powerful and very formative. And I went back to that, allopathic internal medicine specialist and said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not going to eat your seafood. I'm not going to take your fish oil. I'm not going to do that. I cannot do that." I could feel the animals passing, I could feel the struggle that particular seafood encountered in the nets and in the capturing. And there is that in the spirit of the animals. They will resist. They will, fight for their life, for their survival. And we don't need to take life in order to survive. And if we're aware of connecting with the spirit of that life force, then we won't be able to eat that as food without experiencing that turmoil.
Yes, that's so true, because we're taking in that sadness and that despair. Oh my gosh, and all these emotions that are just filled with pain, and how can that not affect us if when we're really connected to the earth and every living being? I mean, when we've reached a level of awareness, then we would be aware that that's going to affect us if we put that in our bodies.
Mm-hmm. It does.
So, Gail, what about animals, or can you tell us what animal possibly that you feel the most connected to, or maybe there's a few?
Of course, my dog, my little coyote red wolf dog. But in the wild animal world, he's pretty domesticated. I won't say he's totally domesticated. They say the primitive breeds are a little challenging, and that's true. But the animal that's helped me the most in my lifetime really has been the bear. The bear came when I was diagnosed. Well, before I was diagnosed, actually, I was in a very difficult time where I woke up with a spinal cord compression, and I had multiple near-death experiences from that spinal cord compression. And I found eventually, with a diagnosis from an environmental medicine specialist, that it was a genetic condition that was triggered when the phosphates were outlawed and taken out of the soaps, because that's the only thing that breaks down the residue of the soaps and the petrochemical profusion on this planet right now. And so the year that happened, I was in a very close to death situation continuously. And it was a native ceremony called the Lilwampi ceremony from the White Buffalo Calf woman that pulled me out of the jaws of death and turned me around and said I could live as long as I continue to share in these ways, in these teachings. And so that's another reason I do that. But the bear showed up on the morning of the solstice with a claw that it had left for me outside my door in the snow. When I took my dog out there, I picked up this thing that I had no idea what it was. There was just this black thing on the snow. And I picked it up and I looked at it, and I first thought it was a sheep. And then, I had no idea what was going on. And I realized when I looked at the hair on this toe pad that the bear had left me a toe to connect with me and help me stay alive in my fight for life at that time. And it was right after that ceremony had given me direction and help with staying alive at that time. And the bear continues to come. It is the animal that represents my father's medicine clan ways, the panther and the bear, Sahoni and Yona in our language, support our medicine clan ways. So they took me back to those ways, and the bear supports me. tremendously. Shows up all too often for my little dog to be comfortable, but is definitely a teacher and helper.
That's beautiful. I saw a bear the last time we went camping, and I looked across, uh, not very far, 10 feet away, maybe 15 feet away, and there was a bear that had come across the little stream. And we were just sitting there, and then the bear saw me, and he left. But it was amazing to be able to see that bear. And he I guess he does wander in that campground. We camped way far back into the woods, so it wasn't ground that a lot of people were at. So and he was. I liked that. I mean, I liked that to see that he was out there in nature and that he was safe, and praying that he still is. I mean, it wasn't a highly, like I said, there weren't many people, but that was a wonderful experience. And I mean, I'm very
Yeah.
blessed to volunteer at the Nature Center and to be able to see animals that, to have experiences with animals much more greater than most people would have. And it's really made me curious about the spirit and of animals, and to see them with different eyes instead of as a being that's a pest, or as a being that doesn't deserve to be here.
Yeah. That's a good example, volunteering like that. Any opportunity to develop a relationship, an ongoing relationship with an animal, is a good way to learn and connect spirit to spirit.
It really is. I love the dances with my snakes, and they're not my snakes, but my friend snakes, because I sometimes I get overwhelmed, and I'm so thankful. I think, you know what, I'm going to go volunteer tomorrow and be with my snakes and have that beautiful dance between them, and for them to sit calm or lay calmly on my leg, or just to sit, cradled here in my arms. And what a blessing that is. And it's something that I would have I would have never thought I would be saying this. And the vultures, someone told me that about vultures that weren't very kind, and I told her, well, vultures are very social animals, and we have vultures that are um, native vultures that are wild there, and I love to see them. What a blessing. I was with a man leading a hike, and he said, what a tremendous joy this is to see these wild vultures just being with us. He was able to recognize that, just the profound sacredness of the wild vultures being there and holding space. And then our vultures that cannot be released, they are there too. And to see these
Yeah.
animals, be able to be their voice, is just a blessing for me to be the voice for animals, and to speak with someone like you, Gail, that is at a profound level of spirituality with animals, and to receive the energy is another blessing. So yeah, so and we
Thank
can
you.
all.
And think about this with the vultures. The vultures have a tremendous gift. Those who feel superior to the birds and animals, think about this. The vulture can turn anything into nutrition.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
They are very good stewards of the earth.
Yeah, exactly. Good helpers. They all
Yes,
are. We just
I
don't
know
know it.
they are, aren't they? Yes, they all have their purpose. So wow. Do you have any recommendations about, like, I guess if we really wanted to learn more, well, we all are going to have to go and get involved with your activities and your groups, but is there anyone else? I mean, I know that I've seen you on Climate Healers. That's where I first learned about you, because I recently got my Climate Healer certification, so I recommend that for everyone. But is there
I do
any other
too. Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I love the way BJ and Dr. Rao share and work. Yeah, that's a great place. And I think, again, personal relationship, direct experience, and developing a relationship with people who walk in this way, whatever way is available to you, whether it's, the vegan way or the indigenous way, or, people, if you see someone who's doing something you'd like to do, just develop a real ongoing helpful relationship with that person that acknowledges the gifts they carry and the need that you feel that you want to add something to your life in that way, and go to the deeper levels of direct experience, and don't just take from the surface. You know, we have some good people working with Dr. too, Chief Phil Lane and the Four Worlds group. I work with them quite a bit. I work with empathyarchitects.life. That's, I think, in our description as well. And Chief Phil Lane is developing the Four Worlds University to share more of the Talking Circle teachings and the ways there. And also I'm on the Wisdom Council and the Grandmothers Council for Erstock Foundation. And we do a lot of work with sustainability. And the founder of that, Michael DiMartino, is also pretty much vegan. I know he's vegetarian. I haven't asked, you know, as much about whether he's vegan, but I think he's very close, and he's involved with the Buddhist people there in Crestone, Colorado. So he does have an ongoing practice with Indigenous elders and with ways of honoring life and sustainability on Earth.
Okay, I'll have to check that out too. And I think I've heard of Earthstock. So, yes, and I love BJ and Dr. Rao. So let me just remind everyone to go to www.all-creatures.org to check out the hundreds of thousands of pages of free resources updated daily, 7 days a week without break, and sign up for our weekly newsletter. And be sure to search vegan churches on our site to find vegan faith-based resources near you. And if you know of a resource not on our list, please reach out to our executive director, Tams at all-creatures.org, because we really want to support people in their spiritual development and to be here for you all, right? We're like, that's why Gail is here, because what happens when you run into someone that is an indigenous person, and to have that conversation and to share veganism with them, and to get these great this wonderful wisdom from Gail, so we can be prepared. We need to really educate ourselves on connecting with Mother Earth and being with these living beings outside that are so welcoming, our trees and our flowers and the wind and the just the sensation of the sun. So, Gail, as we're coming to the end of our time, is there anything else you would like to say? We want to make sure everybody finds you on Facebook and go to all the links and everything and check out your sites.
Yeah, just send me an email, singingmist@gmail.com, if you want to connect and deepen into some of these teachings and build that kind of relationship that we're speaking of, ongoing relationship. Yeah, thank you for all that you're doing, Marquita, for this opportunity that's so beautiful to share these ways.
Well, I've been very looking forward to this, Gail. And I want to thank Bonnie and Marcella also. Yes, and Bonnie says thank you for the amazing information. Yes, and I second that. This is really a true blessing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, I just want to give thanks to all the indigenous people, all of our beautiful spirits, our ancestral spirits, and all the animal spirits that have been with us holding this sacred space during our conversation, and every one of you all out there watching and on the replay. What a blessing everyone is here in your beautiful hearts, especially Gail's. So thank you all so much, and thank you, Gail.
Thank you too.
All
Much
right,
love and
bye-bye.
gratitude. Till
Yes,
again.
thank you.